Burning getting 500 gold for that pickoff.
That's one of the big reasons why Juggernaut's so good against Gyro in general.
Ooh.
Yeah, Ice really wanted that adaptive strike there. Not going to be able to find it, so Greedy will be able to get himself to safety. But Juggernaut matches up well against Gyro just because of when you're in isolated situations like that.
Yep.
If you eat a full Omni and the Juggernaut has even relative levels of farm to you and you don't have like Butterfly or something, you're going to get wrecked. It's just not a very nice time. So.
And now the Octarine Core comes out on the Alchemist. So this is when you get into that 100% uptime Manta Illusion scenario, and he is in full Naga Siren mode.
I mean, honestly, we haven't even seen like the double Tombstone or anything like that. This is just Vici Gaming playing a comeback kind of style here. Because in the early game and even the first real big team fight that broke out, it was still heavily favoring Unknown. I think this is just overall experience and just poise that has put Vici in this position. They understand that all they really need to do is delay the game just enough to get super to his core items, which now that he's hit, game just got real hard for Unknown.
Yeah. And, I mean, you called this Morphling build, and early on, Ice didn't have a huge presence, but now he's actually pretty farmed. You look at him compared to the Darkseer, and he's got a nice little lead there, and going for these utility items has really made a difference. Up top, Darkseer gets soloed by the Juggernaut. Things are falling apart here for Unknown. After such a strong start, this game is beginning to unravel. Still another 4.5 minutes till Roche comes up. I feel like that is really their only hope at this point. Get third Roche, Aegis Cheese, and then take a good team fight.
The problem is I don't know if they're even going to be able to do Roche anymore. Because the last time they did it, I think Vici were still kind of considering contesting, but then just said, you know what? It probably doesn't matter because it's still going to be really hard for them to go high ground. So we can just rely on buybacks instead of committing to a fight that we could potentially lose. And then that puts us in a position where if they fight us in our base and we have to buy back for that fight when they have Aegis, we could potentially lose there. But if we just play it safe, let them get it, wait for an opportunity to go for a pick, which they happen to find on the Aegis carrier, then we're in a fantastic spot. So now Vici, their only condition in which they lose the game is they get wiped, don't have any buybacks, and then Unknown walk into their base and kill buildings. Like, that seems extremely unlikely at this point.
Yeah. Well, now the BKB does come out on the Templar Assassin. As you were talking about before, not really the ideal timing. If they had it in that last engagement when he had the Aegis, maybe could have made the difference to stay alive.
He would have had the money for a BKB as well if he didn't buy Manta.
Yeah. Well, now they'll smoke his 5 and move towards the Roche pit. See if they can catch anyone out here. Haystroon could be picked up. Uh-oh, smoke on smoke action as Vici use one of their own. It'll get broken straight away. Ice goes in aggressive, puts the Lotus Orb on himself. Just says, focus on me, guys. Now on the backside. There's that wombo combo. Vacuum into wall, into call down, and Winter's Curse. Vici taking a lot of damage. They'll lose the Undying first. Burning, just Omni slashing around, and they will turn it around onto the Night Stalker. Only a 1-for-1 to get things started. Not so bad for Vici after all. Ice still alive on the back lines. Throws an adaptive out onto Greedy. He'll waveform across the trees. He'll stay alive for now. Super in the front lines doing a lot of damage. They isolate the TA and they'll bring her down. This is Vici's fight to take. They find the DS. And a vacuum will not be enough to keep him alive. That Frostbite locks him in place long enough to make it a 1-for-3. As meanwhile, at the tier 3 tower in the bottom lane, Super and Ice isolate the Gyrocopter. They'll bring him down as well. Well, a noble effort from Unknown there, but just not enough, Draskell.
Yeah, I think this is probably Rax. They're going to pop Glyph. The only buyback they have is on Greedy. And for now, it seems like Vici are in a pretty good position to take this game number 1.
Yeah, it's certainly looking like it.
I got to say, though, like, Unknown, they definitely showed that they can hang. You know, they can definitely play this early aggressive style. I think, honestly, a lot of the South American teams play hyper-aggressive, so this patch might suit them a bit. Ice is just casually walking towards the enemy well.
Just trying to zone them out here, make a little bit of space. This will be 2 lanes of barracks secured here for Vici Gaming, and now it seems like the ability for Unknown to come back is just not there. Gyro going to be in the grave for another 20 seconds, and this should be Megas.
All right, there it is. GG. Well, a valiant effort from Unknown in game number 1.
Absolutely.
I think they really just needed to focus on just go fight. Like, just go. Against this kind of lineup with Alchemist, you just can't let it go late. Because here's what ends up happening. Your TA, who had a phenomenal start, he goes for all mid-game items. We talked about it at like the 20-25 minute mark. It's like, look, you bought a Yasha, you bought drums, You got phase. That's 3 inventory spots. You got bottle. That's 4. So when you get to later stages in the game, if you don't have BKB, you're also going to need MKB. And then you're going to want like crit for even more damage because TA has to be that physical damage kind of carry.
Right.
And he's your only single target damage. So Gyrocopter is spread damage, right? You're playing against Jug. You're playing against Morphling. You're playing against the Alchemist. They have very high levels of regen. Like you have a healing ward down. You have chemical rage from the Alch. You have convert stats from the Morphling so he can morph strength if he's in trouble. You're not going to kill those heroes in the late game with spread damage unless you are significantly ahead.
Yeah.
So they look for the combo in the last fight. Perfect example of what I'm saying. They hit 3 heroes with a vacuum into a call down, into a Winter's Curse. They kill none of them.
Yeah.
Not a single one of them died.
They just, well, yeah, they ended up finishing off the Undying. That was the only kill.
Or yeah,
they
at the
got
very
that
end. Yeah, at the very end. And
But-
like Fenrir at that point, he didn't really do much anyway. He was just the mech carrier, and
Yeah.
it was already like 34 minutes in when that team fight took place. But
He already mech Tombstone, and that's pretty much all.
yeah,
the
he's like,
Undying
all right,
needs to
whatever.
do.
I'm dead. Doesn't
Sure.
really matter. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, a valiant effort from Unknown. This wasn't just a rollover, like I think a lot of
No,
people
it
were
wasn't.
expecting
It was
coming
not.
into this. Unknown put up a good fight. They dominated some of the lanes early on, and Vici, well, they played their game. You know, they had a late game strategy, and
Yeah.
at the end, they just were able to do it. So, game 1 goes to Vici. Game 2,
I'm
coming up
excited
next.
now. That was like way better than I was expecting.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I'm hyped for game 2. Let's go.
Let's do it. So we're going to have a short break, folks. Then coming back, it will be Unknown versus Vici Gaming, game number 2. Stick around. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 2 of Vici versus Unknown set to get underway. You're joining us here on the D stream with the Frankfurt Major, Andy and Andy. How you feeling, Andy?
I'm ready to go. I'm ready for the next game. I want to
pumped.
see Unknown do well. I want to see him take it to a game 3. I think it would be exciting.
Absolutely. So we were just talking about this before we came back. Game 1, Vici won the toss. They chose first pick straight away. And in this tournament, it alternates choice, kind of the new standard, which I really like, by the way. I'm glad we got away from that just hard swapping both ways.
Yeah.
It adds another layer of kind of strategy.
I think a lot of times in this particular patch, people often have a tendency to gravitate towards first pick. That's the thing that people think is the best. But interestingly enough, Unknown, they had the choice this game, and they're like, you know what? We're going to pick Radiant.
Well, they played Radiant last game, and of course they had the choice of side. I wonder what that means. Like, why Radiant? You know, I feel like, if anything, a lot of teams prefer Dire if you have to pick a side. Is that true? Or is it different on this patch?
I don't know if they prefer Dire necessarily.
Okay.
Like, I think we've kind of gotten farther away from everyone just favoring Dire because of Roshan. Now it's more just like, what kind of strategy are you running? Is it easier for you to stack because you're playing on like Dire or Radiant, for example? Do you want to snowball your lanes? Because typically Radiant is always seen as better that way. You have an easier time winning. Like mid is a lot easier as Radiant than it is as Dire.
Right.
So like those things all kind of matter for what kind of lineups you're running nowadays. And since the games don't last as long in general, the laning phase makes up a bigger portion of the game and also allows you to snowball based on that fact. So the shorter game also benefits the laning phase more, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And since kills and map control are so much more important than they used to be, because everything's just worth a ton now. You kill like a support, you get like 500 gold.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, we're just going to fight. So if we snowball off our lanes, we can just crush. And I think that's what Unknown want to try to do in the second game.
Yeah, I'm really curious how they adjust their kind of drafting style, because game 1 was a very different style in terms of draft. Obviously, Unknown was more about the early game aggression, the team fight, and Vici had that late game security. That didn't feel like an out draft. In the end, it was sort of just an out execution around that like 25-minute mark.
They just
didn't
hit
quite
their
hit their timing. Well, Vici hit their timing.
Vici hit theirs.
And Unknown kind of missed their timing towards the mid game or the beginning of the late game, whatever it is, around 30 minutes. I feel like the late game comes earlier when you're against an Alchemist and a Midas Morphling. 30 minutes, it feels like the late game.
Ice was actually massive that game.
He was huge.
He had Midas. He had the better part of an Octarine at the end of the game, a casual plate mail, and then an Aghanims.
No, he had the full Lotus.
Oh, yeah, he had a Lotus on top of that.
Yep.
Jesus, he had a lot of
Lotus,
money.
Ags, and almost an Octarine plus the Midas. As the offlane Morphling, who was solo the entire game pretty much. It was really insane.
Yeah, I don't understand how he got that much, but I guess that's what happens when you get that trio of heroes. You just happen to get a ton of farm and then eventually win the game. So
we've got a draft, baby.
Yeah, for this match, we are going to head into the draft.
All right,
Radiant Shadow Fiend taken out again.
Yeah, Vici will just rinse and repeat. No big surprise there. This time, Unknown will ban out the Alchemist right away. A little bit of respect there.
I mean, it's kind of funny that they banned it out, even how well the TA did last game. Like, Kotaro, just decimated that lane. Maybe harder than I've ever seen a TA win that matchup.
Yeah.
And then they just couldn't quite get everything together to breach the high ground when they needed to. That was really the kind of the story for me. Is they had a pretty good stranglehold in that early game. The first real big team fight, they 5-0'd Vici. And I was thinking, okay, they actually can do this. They can win this game. They can go take it, take Roshan, get the tier 2s down and just pressure the map. But it never really felt like it got to a point where they were actually containing Vici. They were always finding their farm. Like, at the very least, Burning and Super were always off somewhere just finding something for themselves. And maybe the support suffered a bit, but even Ice managed to get away with a lot that game. So this time around, not sure if Unknown want to do something similar.
Yeah,
I would love to see them pick TA again, because I honestly think that he played a great game in game number 1.
Last game, Fenrir was just sort of the sacrificial space creator in a lot of regards. He was 0
really
and 6
do much,
and just kind of ran around and helped to deal with pressure, and he was just a walking tombstone, basically. And then at the end, he had a mech, and that helped a little bit.
I mean, heck, in the beginning of the game, all he really did was give the TA kills, because they were playing 2v1 mid, right? And then Kotaro just walks up and is like, whatever, I got max meld at level 7, you're just dead.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, Vici banned out the Queen of Pain, and Unknown think about it and opt to take out the Doom. It was their second ban in game number 1, a hero they really don't like to play against, and Vici will change it up. They'll go with a first pick Slardar, most likely for Ice in the offlane.
Yeah, I like the Slardar opening. It leaves you open. to a lot of different things that you can do. And it doesn't necessarily have to be offlane. It can be core, it can be offlane, it can be support. It's a very ambiguous hero. You don't have to set it in one particular place.
Is the support Slardar really something to be feared?
I don't know about support. It's less likely, I think, than a 1 roll or a 3 roll.
Yeah.
But it is always possible. It just depends. You know, sometimes you see a niche situation where you go, okay, we can actually move our Slardar to a different role. We don't have to put him in one particular place, but
right.
It just leaves you the freedom. That's the most important part.
Absolutely. So what do Unknown want to go for here? Last game they opened with the Gyrocopter Winter Wyvern, so very early out of the gate, you kind of knew what they wanted to do in terms of looking for mid-game team fight presence.
Yeah. I would like to see them, if they're not going to pick Dazzle now, at least ban it in the second phase. Because I think Dazzle Slardar is just a disgusting combination that you should pretty much never give away.
Yeah, we talked about it in our pregame a little bit. The natural synergy with all the physical damage and the minus armor, and yeah. Also, Slardar just has issues with initiating, taking a lot of damage, and can be susceptible to getting blown up. So just the nature of having a shallow grave to get him that get out of jail free card can definitely come in handy.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And also, we were doing a little bit of research onto Unknown before we actually got into this game, and you brought up the fact that they'd actually picked Abaddon in the past.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually very good against Slardar.
Yeah.
Because Aphotic Shield is a fairly low cooldown. You can remove the amp just about as often as it's applied. But as we are going to see this very aggressive opening from Unknown, not really surprising given the way they played game number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And given the fact that they're Radiant, I also think that these kind of heroes are conducive to just being on that side of the map and being able to kind of crush your laning phase.
Absolutely. Definitely fits their playstyle. Like you mentioned before, this is a patch that fits the playstyle, these kind of South American teams that just really like to bring it to you and be super aggressive. And with that, Vici will grab Lich for their first support.
Interesting that they actually pick Lich instead of banning it. I know that if it's a dual offlane, it's obviously going to be strong. But the one thing about Lich is that he's very susceptible to kind of this early game 5-man aggression.
Right.
You're really just picking him to win a lane. Ice armor is always going to be useful, for sure. But it's more of that hero that you just don't want to play against as a Slardar, I think. Instead of, we just want to pick it ourselves. So I'm wondering if they have something else in mind for putting that Lich with another hero rather than just the Slardar.
I mean, Lich Doom is that duo that's all the rage on this patch. I'm trying to think of other really scary Lich duos that have become prominent.
I mean, anything with Lich is good. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, he makes any lane good just by sacrifice and just by having pretty much infinite mana to harass. And Ice Armor, even in the earliest stages of the game, it's very hard to try to fight aggressively into it because it's not really just about the armor. It's about the slow that you get whenever you try to hit. It's just so frustrating to play into. So now getting into the ban phase here, round 2, Husker going to be taken out from Vici, which I find interesting because
it's kind of an odd ban, but it fits that aggressive style we've been talking about.
He's also a very good laner.
Yeah.
I just think that Husker is very weak to Slardar. That's the one thing that I have to go and kind of scratch my head about because amplified damage just obliterates Husker.
Yeah, that's his big weakness. He's really good against magical damage, but heavy physical, he just can't.
Yeah, you actually just punch
stand
him
up against
and
it.
He dies.
Yeah, the one tool that really lets you man fight the Huskar. And now that Wisp gets banned, completely ignored in game 1, which I was really surprised, because both these teams do play Wisp, at least occasionally. And this go-around, Vici will take it out of the pool.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that Dazzle ban anymore after having seen the Lich. Like, sometimes when you're picking a Dazzle, you're going to go for, like, the full 5-man lineup.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have, like, a initiation-type hero in one of the supports, then picking Dazzle is very unlikely. So you're not going to see, like, Lich Dazzle together very often, unless your cores are the ones who are going to be making the space and setting up for the kills, you know?
Right.
So I don't think that Vici will go for that. And it also means that Unknown don't have to burn a ban on it, which is why they take out the Gyro and the Lina instead.
I mean, do you think Unknown could look for the Dazzle themselves?
It is possible, but it pretty much means that Tusk would have to automatically offlane in that situation.
Right.
Because I think Tusk support is weaker than Tusk offlane, and I think that Undying support is okay. Like, it's passable.
I mean, we saw it work in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, Fenrir, the poor guy, he was the martyr for the team, but and ended up working out, so I'm sure he's fine with it. Yeah. But for now, Unknown looking at...
They're chewing through this reserve time, man. They're really thinking about where they want this draft to go. Makes me wonder if they're just not sure what to do against this opener exactly with Vici, or if they're still trying to decide how they want to approach this game, if they want to go for early mid-game aggression again or do something a little more focused towards the late game. But that answers that question.
Okay.
Third pick, Death Prophet.
You know, I love this hero against Slardar. Now, it's one of those situations where the heroes kind of counter each other. But if you think about it, Slardar's mode of initiation typically is either sprinting in or blinking in. If you have Exorcism on when the Slardar blinks in, more often than not, he is the only target that is in range of Exorcism at that given point because he's the initiator.
Right.
He's the first one in. So the first thing that comes to my mind is you get obliterated by spirits. They just do unreasonable amounts of damage. And they continually buffed level 1 Exorcism for like 3 or 4 patches in a row. So now at level 1, you get 8 spirits.
It's pretty good.
That's not even considering Witchcraft, which adds spirits to Exorcism every single rank.
Yep.
So, I mean, this hero is strong. And a lot of the South American teams have run it in the past, so...
She's very... she reminds me of Brewmaster in the sense that those early ults are so important. You can't afford to have missed ults in the sense that you pop it and then die right away, or you don't get any objectives. That is the crux of this hero. If you can make the team fights work and utilize the Exorcism to find kills or find objectives or make space, she's really powerful. But if you can't do that, then she seems to kind of fall off. That's
it's very true. I mean, it's a long cooldown. It's a 2-minute and 15-second cooldown, I think.
Yep,
or 2-minute and 25.
Yeah, it's long. It's
so like you said,
scale.
You got to try to get something out of it whenever you pop it. But at level 7, I think you have now 12 spirits. Whereas, think about this for a second, right? Originally, it was 4. Okay? 4. That is awful.
That's exactly like the Slardar boss we were talking about in Game 1 of how he has gone from, okay, this spell kind of stinks, to maybe it's a little bit too strong now. And who knows? Maybe will Death Prophet come back in this major? Will she be the unsung hero?
I think she actually is so good in this patch because if you think about the other heroes that are picked so frequently, let's just take Unknown's draft as an example. Undying and Tusk. These 2 heroes can set up fights whenever. And they're even going to pick Venno on top of this. So this is a little bit of a deviation from the norm and how they're going to be running Venno. Because it looks to me like it's going to be core.
It has to be, I think.
So core Venno, mid Death Prophet. I want to see how this plays out. Because personally, I think that right now, Vici don't have the tools to fight into Exorcism. And honestly, Winter's Curse, I don't really see being that useful against these heroes because nobody does any right-click damage.
Yeah.
You're just looking at a bunch of heroes who are, okay, I want to drop Plague Wards. I'm going to pop Exorcism.
I'm going to drop a Poison Nova, Tombstone.
Tusk and Undying just don't punch you that hard. So all things considered, it doesn't really seem that scary.
That is wild. And now Vici, they go for the Tiny. And of course, Wisp has been banned out, so it's not a Tiny Wisp combo. Is this just a burning Tiny for the safe lane? I feel like I've been watching... Too much Sexy Bambo is coming to mind here, that off-lane Tiny. But, I mean, what seems more likely here? The off-lane Tiny or off-lane Slardar?
I think off-lane Slardar is probably still more likely.
That's where I'm leaning as well.
I mean, for CL, I've definitely been known to run the off-lane Tiny from time to time, but I think this is more of a core position for 2 reasons. One, he needs the levels to be able to blow heroes up. Like, that's what Vici are looking for right now. They wanted that hero that can go in, get the Death Prophet down straight away. Like, no fuss, just go in, kill that hero, be done with it, right?
Just hit her with a combo and it's
over.
Yeah,
because right now, Unknown don't have a lot of save. So are they going to go back and pick up something like a Dazzle if they're going to be running that Venomancer as a core? Or they need to pick something that can protect the Death Prophet because they have very little in the way of Disable.
Exactly.
So they need something that's either going to help their 5-man Death Ball or they need something that's going to protect the Death Prophet.
I feel like this last pick from Unknown has to be something that pulls the team fight together. So I was just going to say they have very few disables right now. And aside from Venomous Gale, I mean, that's the big problem with Tiny is getting kited, getting locked down, and getting those auto attacks off. If he's not caught by the Venomous Gale, he'll have fun, except Viper has now come out. So there you go.
So
Team
it
Poison.
is support Venno, right?
Well, I guess it could still be support Tusk and support Undying.
This has got to be, first off, the greenest team I have ever seen.
Yes.
You do not see teams with this, like, many different kinds of greens that often.
It's not often you see Venno and Viper on the same side.
What? What is happening? It's mid-Tiny.
Okay. You know, that thought crossed my mind, but I instantly just nixed it as just...
Well, they're
Wow.
gonna. This is what I assume is gonna happen, right? They're gonna send Ice 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 to the off lane. They're gonna do Lich Tiny mid, and then they're gonna do Winter Wyvern Medusa safe lane.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, right? Like Death Prophet is a pretty hard hero to beat in lane just because of spam. Like Witchcraft and Crypt Swarm make you pretty formidable. You're not really going to get ganked by the lineup at Vici Gaming. So what I assume is going to happen is they're just going to stick Lich mid to keep the Death Prophet down, try to prevent Exorcism from being too much of an early game problem. Or wait a minute, is it position 1 Death Prophet?
I get.
Because Kotaro is playing Viper right now.
Yeah, so it'll be Viper mid. I think
So
it
they're-
is going to be safe lane DP.
They might be assuming that it's a dual lane mid, in which case they would want the Death Prophet to dodge, I guess.
Right, so
Because
she'll
the
go
Death Prophet
safe
needs
lane,
levels.
and then she'll have a solo matchup up against the
I don't know,
Slardar.
man. This is really weird.
So maybe Unknown will just go for the aggro tri-lane here with a Veno, Undying Tusk. I mean, there's a lot of kill potential there if that's the route they want to go.
I just want to see what the hell the lanes are going to be.
Wow. Well, the Vici side will be somewhat more predictable here. Slardar will head to the off lane. FY will head up top, and it looks like, yep, Burning will take Medusa and head to the safe lane. So I think you were right with that dual lane mid, at least to get things started with Lich and Tiny.
Oh no, they are going to put Death Prophet mid. They're just maybe they just don't want to play Death Prophet on Kotaru.
Yeah. Now, Unknown is one of these teams where their 1 and their 2 and their 4 and their 5 are pretty interchangeable. They don't have locked roles in terms of who does what. So it is a little bit difficult to predict based on which player has which hero. Safe lane Viper. Interesting. Well, he'll definitely get a lot of farm down here, that's for sure.
Yeah, if he's against a Slardar, it won't be too bad.
But I worry about this DP's ability to handle this dual lane mid.
I mean, I was worried about the first game, and I was proven pretty wrong in the sense that
That's true.
Unknown had a very solid laning phase. If they can do the same thing with this lineup, this is a very different kind of beast to deal with. It's like running into you with Plague Wards and Gale, Poison Nova, Exorcism. They just deal so much damage by being alive. Like, that's... like, being alive just
a good way to
hurts
put it.
Vici. Yeah, it's just like, okay, I'm alive, you're taking damage.
Yeah. What an interesting draft here. This is...
And how are you going to kill Tombstone when you have to walk into a Poison Nova and Exorcism? Like,
yeah.
that just seems terrifying. Why are there 3 people mid? Vici are just like...
This game has
everyone's
already
gonna help
devolved into
block,
chaos.
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
So it's Undying Death Prophet mid for the Radiant. FY will start off with the Arctic Burn just to try and push him back a little bit. And there will be some support. Super hasn't skilled anything quite yet, but Decay from Z-Talk will steal a little bit of strength and push him back. It's a dual lane in the mid on both sides of the coin.
Yeah, we knew the dual lane was coming from Vici, but I suppose if you're going to have the situation, you kind of have to put the Undying there as well.
It's not the dual lane we were thinking, though.
Yeah, I thought
assuming
Lich
it would be the
there.
Lich. And oh, Ice, Ice, Ice. Look at all of this Toxin down bottom. So much slow. They won't quite find the kill. They bring him down low, but he will eat a tango and survive. Now, Veno Viper in the safe lane. This is disgusting.
It actually is disgusting, literally and metaphorically in this case.
Yeah.
It's
This-
too, like...
This is what I think of as the anti-Merlini lane. His 2 least favorite heroes in the same lane.
I mean, I can understand Viper, but why you gotta hate on Veno?
I don't know.
I mean, he's a little bit boring to play.
He
but-
doesn't like the idea of a hero that presses R and then suicides. He says it's just stupid.
All right, well,
In
what about
his
a hero
words,
that
not mine.
presses R and deletes another hero from the game? Because that's pretty much what Doom does.
Yeah, and Necro. All right, here we go. Burning. He'll get initiated on. Just caught by the Ice Shards. We go for that early point in Mana Shield and Mystic Snake. I'm always curious to see what build Medusas go for early on, because I feel like there's a lot of different ways you can approach this hero.
I think you just max Mystic Snake and Shield, honestly.
Okay, so you do
Like-
you think Max Snake is the way to go here and not
Yeah.
the stats build?
I mean, the stats build's okay. I just feel like you need the survivability of having the max shield. If he wants to go like full defensive, he could max shield and get stats. But having the Mystic Snake also means that you can steal mana in lane, which does add to your overall health anyway, if you want to
That's-
think of it that way.
Yeah, that's a good way to approach it. This is a scary duo lane, though, and they'll go right in onto Burning. He pops the healing salve, but out come the Ice Shards. Burning in a lot of trouble here, but can they actually secure the kill? The Arctic Burn from FY, slowing them into oblivion. Burning will turn, throw out that Mystic Snake to steal a little bit of mana. He will survive the onslaught, and it looks like FY will be able to make it back to safety near his tower. Z-Talk losing his decay stacks, and actually
just
misses
missed,
right
yeah.
there. And Greedy will walk through the tower, so close but no cigar, as looks like Viper did intentionally suicide there in the jungle.
No, he didn't suicide in the jungle. He died in lane of creeps.
Oh, he died into creep.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep, he just died
My
to some
bad. Oh,
creeps.
courier mid. Fenrir going to wrap around. He'll find the courier with a bottle on it.
Oh.
Huge pick there for the Lich.
That hurts bad. That hurts real bad. The Death Prophet is, I think, the most important hero on this lineup for the early game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to get your exorcism going. You need to get good farm. You need to become tanky.
And part of that good farm is being able to crow/refill the bottle and spam out those crypt swarms.
Yeah, no doubt about that. This is, well, he got super pretty low. He does have his bottle now.
I mean, he's having a pretty good time in the lane. We'll see if he can keep it up in the next 2 minutes before his courier comes back. So, how did Viper die down here? I'm a little surprised.
I think he was trying to commit to Ice pretty hard, going for a kill, and then ended up tanking a couple of tower shots and then just ran away and died to creeps.
Yeah. Ice. Getting some okay experience. He is halfway through level 4, but farming is definitely a difficulty. Getting aggressive against the Viper, though. Kind of pump fakes the Slithering Crush there.
Well, the one thing to note is that Viper does kind of need levels in the early game, because you need Corrosive, Nether Toxin, and Poison Attack all together to really get your laning phase going. And Vici with some more early rotations here is Fenrir and Ice, making their way through the woods, looking for that Death Prophet.
Oh,
if he gets caught, he will get dove and die.
Yeah, she doesn't see it coming. There's the sprint from Ice around the backside. Slithering Crush as well as Frost Nova. That's an easy kill. First blood goes the way of the Slardar. Very nice for Vici here. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, FY in a little bit of trouble. Will turn with Arctic Burn. Almost finishes off the Tusk, but he goes into the Snowball. Wand charges, not quite enough. Burning will come in for that one arrow to get the kill. A 1-for-1. Not too bad for Vici, actually. Medusa getting a freebie.
I mean, this is the start that Vici need.
Yep.
If you lose your laning phase to what Unknown have, I think it's extremely difficult to win the game from that point, because they have insanely good death ball potential.
I think they may try something for Z-Talk here. Nope, he'll just retreat back to safety. Ice. Does he want to go in? Yeah, there we go. Connects with a Slithering Crush. Snowball forward on 2. Burning getting low, and it's Ice actually dies first. They'll trade 1-for-1, though. Dusa getting another kill. And even though they lose the starter, I feel like that's still not that bad of a trade. Burning the big breadwinner out of this whole exchange in the top lane.
I'm totally okay with giving my Medusa early game kills. I mean, he's almost level 6. It's 5 minutes in.
Yeah,
he's got treads. He's got Bassi done.
He's feeling pretty good.
I want to know what item build he is. I don't think I've ever seen a Burning Medusa game, actually. Like, live, at least.
Yeah. I wonder... Not really a Lincoln's game.
It's never a Lincoln's game. that
Down bottom, Viper, yep, he'll get picked off. The power of the Slardar Lich, man. Even a tanky hero like Viper, there's just so much slow, and if once he connects with the stun, it's really difficult. Now Excel, he's going to find himself in a world of hurt. Ice goes slithering on in. Slithering Crush. Fenrir will take some decent damage here, but they should be able to get this kill on the Veno. Ice just needs one more poke with that Trident, and he'll chase him down. 6-2 as Vici take control of the early game.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit out of hand here. They're really going to need their Death Prophet to get some objectives with the first couple of exorcisms, or at the very least try to win a team fight or two.
Yeah.
I think with the level 1 exorcism being much stronger now, there is potential you can just use it to fight if you want to try to stop Vici from just running at you. Because it seems like Ice in his rotations, they've all been successful so far. Even if he's trading his own life, he's still finding something.
Yeah.
And that's really all Vici want to do at this point. Just make the early game chaotic for Unknown. Because we talked about their lack of disables. That's pretty much what Vici are exploiting. It's like, okay, you can't stun us when we have a Slardar and a Tiny who can just kill you and stun.
I mean, I look at games like this as just perfect evidence of why Ice is hyped up so much as a player. This is such a difficult safe lane to go up against, and instead of just sitting in the lane or getting picked off, he's made things happen elsewhere. That Slardar at level 3, level 4, rotates mid. He just rotated to the top lane, and now all of a sudden, we're 7 minutes in. He's level 6, he's 2-1-2, and he has made so much out of this very difficult lane.
It's just realizing the shortcomings in the game and realizing what you can do to circumvent that problem.
Yeah.
It's like, what's my problem? Okay, well, my lane sucks. I got 3 points into sprint at level 6. I got Slithering Crush. My movement speed is extremely high. I'm just going to run at people.
Let's find some kills, man.
Like, even if he doesn't end up getting a kill from his rotation, he still either secures farm for the lane that he's going to, and create some space.
There's a big rotation mid here, Draskell. 4 heroes going in onto Super. It'll be Greedy to start it off. They will follow up with some damage, but a huge stun, huge toss. Now Ice 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 is on his way in. 3 very low heroes. Z-Talk will try to commit on Super behind the hero, but Death Prophet's already gone down. Excel looks like he'll fall as well as FY connects with a couple Arctic Burn charges here. Greedy will make it away with a nice set of ice shards, and while all that was going on, Z-Talk did manage to find the kill on the Tiny, but Vici make the most out of this here, and it's not even over yet. Ice Ice Ice, he's still diving past the tier 2. He's slithering. Greedy will hit him with a walrus punch. He misses the crush. Oh no. Ice 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 will fall after that Greedy dive. Very well played by Greedy, though.
That was Greedy of Ice Ice Ice, to be honest. Just diving at tier 2. But you could tell he's feeling pretty confident right now in the way that the early game is kind of rolling out here for Vici.
Yeah.
And I mean, he should be, because Burning is just free farming up a storm.
Yeah, that was all space created. Ooh, hops to the other side of the ice shards. Could have potentially been a kill here for Greedy if he was on the other side of it, but now Burning will just pop his mana shield and slither back to safety. A lot of slithering heroes this game, Draskell.
A lot of tails, a lot of wings.
A lot of wiggling.
Not a lot of feet, actually. All right, so who has feet? Tusk, Undying. Tiny, I guess, technically has feet.
Yeah, sure. Oh, down bottom. Kataro, he's going to get initiated on and, well, pops a Viper Strike, but it's not going to do a hell of a lot. That'll be another easy kill, and this is like we talked about, where Slardar is just so damn strong. That minus 10 armor is just ridiculous. You know, you don't think of Lich as a scary right clicker, but if you're negative armor, yeah, those right clicks from Lich add up.
Yeah, everything hurts when you have minus 5 armor at 9 minutes into the game. That is very, very true. And this is a really good example of, like, the Viper pick for me, I wasn't really getting. Like, I guess they wanted a lane dominator to put up against the Lich because they knew that the Lich was going to be in one of the 2 lanes, either mid or bottom, right? As top Burning is going to get punched here again.
Yeah, but he will stay alive. Compliments of the Cold Embrace from FY. Now they'll try to turn on to Z-Talk. Winter's Curse comes out. He will move into Flesh Golem form, but they might have the damage here. Soul Rip just barely keeps him alive. And Greedy does press forward. They won't be able to find the kill. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Viper gets picked off again by the Slardar Lich duo. The slow comboing with the Sprint Slitherine Crush is just too much for this Viper to deal with.
Yeah, they're just like bullying every single lane at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it during the draft. The shortcoming of Unknown is their inability to really take early game fights. They rely heavily on kiting. Their only disabler is the Tusk. And this Death Prophet still doesn't have any points in Exorcism. Yep. So I'm kind of wondering, what is the go for them? Like, when do they feel confident in being able to do something?
Well, could be in some trouble here. We'll see a rotation coming in from the Lich, but there's a lane ward down, so we'll be able to scout it out, and does move to safety. But if that ward wasn't there, I think that's a guaranteed kill with Super and Fenrir. This is a rough early game for Unknown, and like you said, I wonder when Death Prophet really will start to come online here and try to make stuff happen. She will go for the Yule Scepter first item, and does not skill the ultimate at level 9, grabs that last point in Witchcraft, so we'll have to wait until level 10 before we see Exorcism.
Well, this is the old build, right?
Yep.
Like, back when Exorcism level 1 was really bad, this is what you used to see. But even if you get it at level 9, you're still going to get, what, 13 spirits?
Yeah.
With 4 points, or 3 points into Witchcraft, so I think that's plenty. I think they could have already applied a decent amount of pressure with that ult, and if you get it earlier, you could have even used it like maybe 2 or 3 times by this point.
I mean, right now it feels like Unknown just don't know what their game plan is at the moment. Burning is still free farming. He gets a tier 1 tower up top completely unchecked. Viper's going for a Hand of Midas, but has just nothing to show for it. Still doesn't even have the Midas completed, and he's going to get picked off again. Ice 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 just charges in. The Frost, or the ultimate from Lich was already utilized, and if Ice 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 lives here, oh my, now the Tombstone comes in from Z-Talk. They will be able to finish him off. It's Undying that'll get credit for the kill, so at least they make it a 1-for-1. But, I mean, Viper can't even finish his Midas here, Draskell. That's how bad this is.
Yeah, they really need this Death Prophet to hit level 10. Like, you need your ulti so bad. That's going to be really the test. If the Death Prophet ultimates fall short in the first couple of uses, I think this game is just going to become extremely difficult for them.
I mean, it's already starting to ball out of control. About 4K net worth and experience is the lead for Vici, with Dusa topping the charts. And Burning going for a nice early combative build. He can join these fights if he wants to. Power Treads, Drum, Aquila. He's ready to rock and roll.
I think everyone on Vici can fight. Like, there's even Blink on the Tiny. So he just needs to send it out. Super just waiting for the courier to get back to base. Once that happens, pretty much everyone on the side of Unknown dies to that combo.
Yep. Yeah, the Blink Dagger, I think, is the right build for Tiny here. Just a lot of catch. And, I mean, even this Viper, he's a free kill pretty much every time. Ice will just walk in. Sure, he takes a Viper strike, but sets it up for an easy kill there. And Super will be able to punch him to secure the death.
Oh, Undying, you can't walk over there.
Oh, no. Z-Talk, that was ambitious. Walks right into the danger zone. Easy 2-0, and Vici aren't done yet. Ice. He's got the sprint on. He finds Excel. Gets hit by a gale, but it doesn't matter. They just got way too much burst damage. These pickoffs are just all too easy for Vici.
Vici showing once again why they are widely considered to be one of the top 3 teams in the world right now.
Oh, yeah. No
Just
doubt.
a very good understanding of heroes that aren't even seen that much. Like, how often do we see Death Prophet and Venomancer Viper together, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a lineup that's fairly uncommon, and they're just showcasing that they understand how to deal with it thoroughly, even at this very early stage. And
Yeah. I just really like this build that Burning went for. I feel like Medusa is often characterized as a hero that can't get involved early on, and
yep.
I mean, Stone Gaze is a really powerful spell even in the early levels. And I like that they're starting to get Burning involved, especially now that he was able to get that tier 1 tower in his safe lane.
Well, Mystic Snake does a tremendous amount of damage, as long
That's
as
true.
you can land it on multiple targets. That's the hard part, is like, early in the game, it's not often that you see like 3, 4, 5 heroes in close enough proximity to really land a good Mystic Snake, but in this game it's possible, just because of the kind of lineup that Unknown have put together.
Well, Yules is up on the Death Prophet. She's also level 10, about halfway to level 11. So we could still see our first Exorcism. And maybe that will be the turning of the tides. What are you thinking about this Midas on Viper? Do you think that was the play here?
I actually thought he was going to go for Mech. Because,
me too.
like, Mech with Death Prophet ulti, that just seems like, you know, that seems like the logical choice. Because you're building a Veno with wards. You have Exorcism. You got Tombstone. Why not just have a Mech on top of it to make your 5 versus 5 even more terrifying? But I can see how Yules is good for spam. It's good for farm. They are smoked up here. Level 2 Exorcism is available.
Unknown, starting things off. He doesn't have an invisibility rune on. They have a sentry down. Oh no, this could be bad for... Oh no, the Death Prophet will be able to hop into the Yules. That'll buy him a little bit of time. But now the Stone Gaze comes out. The Chain Frost from Lich will start bouncing. DP, the first hero to go down in this fight. She didn't even get to use the ultimate. Chain Frost still bouncing around like crazy, doing some damage to heroes. They'll throw Ice in the Undying. That'll secure the kill there. It's a fast 2-0 for Vici. The rest of Unknown in quick retreat. But Excel, he's going to get left behind. And with that minus armor, Tiny just punches so hard, tosses him up. The Mystic Snake will bring him down. Ice. One hit from death. The tower shot might be enough to kill him, but no. He'll get an earn charge. He'll stay alive. Now the Cold Embrace buys him some time, and Tusk will get finished off. It's a 4-0. 18-5. Vici Gaming continuing to dominate Unknown.
That was so unfortunate. Like, they walked down past a sentry and an obs, so they knew the Death Prophet was invis, and then they just dropped another sentry in lane and killed her before she could even use Exorcism. It's been almost 16 minutes, and we have not seen the ability used. And Ice is also going to find the Viper again.
Absolutely. Viper now 0-7-1. This, I mean, you pick a hero like Viper to dominate the lane and have an early game presence. When he falls behind like this so early on, it's tough stuff. He's a paperweight at this point. Force Staff onto Z-Talk. They put him behind the tower. We will see Death Prophet utilize the ulti for the first time this game. Forces a glyph from Vici, and they will be able to grab this tower. Well, that's something.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to just, like, 5-man around that ulti. That's pretty much their only game plan.
Every 2 minutes, yeah.
Exorcism is extremely potent. Even when the enemy team is ahead, you can never underestimate the amount of damage that it will do. But I think the problem that they're going to run into now is that Vici have had such a good start on their Tiny, especially. Like, having the Blink drums already available.
Viper again in the bottom lane, caught by Ice.
But this is what I mean. Like, they just have too many ways of jumping you now.
Yeah.
And because the Death Prophet is opted to go in for the Yules and not something that gives you a little more tankiness during the early game, like, maybe he picks up a casual point booster now, which will help. But I think he still just gets blown up whenever Vici see him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. How do you even start to recover here? The Midas, I feel like, is actively working against him. That's where all of his gold is gone, and it just does nothing to keep him survivable. And he's barely even able to use it. I mean, he can keep it on cooldown, but he still can't really farm at any reasonable rate. And don't forget, all the while, burning is just racking up the farm. He now has a completed Yasha and almost 2k gold to deal with. So he's
Oh god,
he's in good
this
shape.
Tusk is dead
Oh.
too.
Yep, caught out again.
Yep.
So much catch here for the Dire side.
I kind of got a feel for Unknown because the first game was a lot closer than this one has been so far.
This just fell apart
Oh,
too
Ice
early
Ice
on.
Ice getting his urn taken.
Yep, that's unfortunate here. He will just barely survive with the Force Staff. Did they kill the urn or did they take it? Looks like they killed it.
It's just a little bit of hubris coming out from Daryl.
Yep,
He does that
having
from
a little
time
fun
to time.
with it. Well, that's okay. FY split pushing in the bottom lane. That Winter Wyvern, watch out. He's almost at a Blink Dagger as well. Additional catch here for Vici Gaming.
I honestly don't know what they're supposed to do outside of 5-man at this point.
Oh, Z-Talk. He gets caught by a crush, sets it up for super. Toss combo, finds the kill. Another easy pick off here for Vici. They will disengage. I mean, just look at this ward control here. The entire Radiant jungle is just completely warded. I mean, Vici know exactly where they're going to go. They've got complete map control. Kataro, he TP's in. They know exactly where he is. Ice, Ice, Ice hits him with an amp damage. They toss him back into the Dire team. This poor Viper.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel bad for him.
Starting to?
Oh, Death Prophet. She gets caught. Winter's Curse comes out. Gets dropped seconds after the exorcism is utilized. And it'll be on cooldown now.
He got craggy when he tried to Walrus punch him.
Oh my. It just gets worse here for Unknown. Now the Tusk falls. Undying gets off the tombstone. It gets taken out. Chain Frost will fall. And that's
GG.
it. 19 minutes in, they called the GG. And honestly, not a moment too soon. It'll be a 5-man wipe as the Venom gets taken out. 5-0 to round things out. Game 2, Vici, man. Just they came out of the gate guns blazing.
Yeah, that was pretty one-sided. This is more along the lines of what I was expecting when I saw the first game. But, I mean, Unknown showed that they have some potential. It's just a matter of this lineup, I think, was too far off center.
Yeah.
Like we talked about before the series even started, maybe bringing something to the table that was a little bit new. But usually that means like maybe 1 or 2 new heroes. It doesn't mean pick Veno, Viper, and Death Prophet together. You know, because the thing is, the glaring weakness of the lineup is we can't actually fight. Like, we have some kiting, we have some decent laners, but Ice 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 moving around and recognizing that just throwing a wrench into the early game static laning phase of Unknown would just completely make them collapse. Like, that was in of itself kind of where the game started to spiral out of control. Yeah. And I also don't know about delaying the Death Prophet ulti for so long, because he didn't cast it until he was level 11.
16 minutes in.
And at that point in the game, it's already like, we're getting wrecked.
Yeah.
You know, I think that maybe skilling the ultimate a little bit sooner could have at least let them pressure the mid tower a bit. You know, maybe something else happens. I don't know, man. It was not pretty.
Yeah, you look at this Unknown lineup and you think, well, if their laning phase is okay around 15 minutes, they could have a really scary death ball. But I think a lot of that revolves around having a mech. And that was the other big weakness is there was no mech carrier. Viper had Midas at the end of that game. That was his only item.
Yeah.
And it just didn't really provide them with much.
I wonder if it would have been better off just putting the Tusk bottom with the Viper and then having the Veno top with the Undying. Because I feel like Veno Undying is very difficult to fight into when you only have Wyvern and Medusa. Because it's the lane of no disables on Vici's side versus the lane of, okay, Tusk Initiation and Gale might be enough to actually kill the Wyvern. Because you can't usually use Arctic Burn to get away from Gale. Just you're too slow, right? You can still get killed. So I'm wondering if the laning phase could have maybe been a little bit cleaner from Unknown. But all things considered, Vici looking pretty strong in their opening set, especially in the second game.
Absolutely. 2-0 goes the way of Vici, and it looks like the Dota 2 Lounge odds were on point.
What was it?
98 to 2, something like that. It was. Okay. I think that's the most one-sided.
The first game was not 98 to 2. That was like
absolutely not.
That was like 80-20, which is still a much bigger.
Like, I mean, like you mentioned, Unknown have a rocky. Maybe we could pull up the groups just to refresh anybody that hasn't seen them yet. Unknown are in a rough group, and I think even though they got whomped in Game 2 and they lost their first series 2-0, they still showed some promise. Game 1 really did show that they're a team with some skills, you know. And
well, they got OG and Vega in their group as well, I believe, as we are pulling up the groups right now, so we'll be able to check that out.
Yeah, so still some rough games ahead for Unknown, but again, it's worth just going back to that point that this is such a valuable experience for a team like this that is, you know, there's never been an event of this scale before.
Yeah. No, it's true, because when you're playing against top caliber teams, it is the best way to improve, because they, like, the first thing that people realize when they play Dota is, man, I just get wrecked every single game, you know? But then you adapt. You're like, why did I get wrecked? And then you look at the replay, or, you know, you just think about it for a little while, and you keep trying new things, and you eventually find something that works for you. And a team is no different. You know,
Right.
you just got to find your niche. You got to find your zone. So Unknowns still have some time for adaptation. They'll walk away from the series and play some more today. And at the end of it, they'll be like, all right, what do we need to improve on? What are we good at? What can we do better? You know, what heroes do we do well with?
Right.
I think maybe sticking to the kind of aggressive style they had in game 1, where they actually had some disables and teamfight potential that worked a lot better for them in this series. So maybe try to gravitate towards that in the ongoing series for the day. But we're done here. I mean, we only got one series.
That's it.
So.
One series today. That's it for the D stream. We will be back tomorrow, though. We'll be moving into Group D. How appropriate. We'll have Alliance versus eHome. That should be a really good series.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that game.
Yeah.
Should be good.
Absolutely. So that's it, folks. Thank you for joining us here. We'll be back tomorrow, I believe, at the same time, 11 a.m. local here on CET. I'm Ziori. He's Draskell. And we'll see you tomorrow.